to mute. Okay, are we ready? Good evening, everybody. For those of you who have come to visit again to our Thoughtful Thursday exploration of yoga wisdom. And in case there's people joining for the first time, welcome. I hope you'll get something really nice out of this. The idea is of presenting these Thoughtful Thursdays is to put forward, to explore these amazing and wonderful and life-enhancing teachings which bring from the yoga system, and then seeing how they apply in our own personal journey through our own lives. Okay, so just to help set the scene and to get us in a right consciousness and mood to be able to speak about and hear and contemplate upon this wisdom, let us practice a guided meditation first. So this meditation is very simple. We're going to begin with simple breath awareness just to help bring us into this moment, into this experience, because the mind is wandering all over the place from all of the things that we have done throughout our day. So let's just focus on being here for this experience. So we'll begin with breath awareness, we'll do some mindfulness practice, and then we'll come into the practice of mantra meditation, where we absorb, immerse ourselves in transcendental sound. And the mantra, the transcendental sound, actually becomes the focal point, the focus of our meditation. Okay, so let us begin. If you would like to, you can close your eyes. And if there's others around, if you're in your room or there's others there in the lounge room, wherever you may be, if you can maybe just let them know that for the next 10 minutes or so, of course, turn off the phone in the sense that no one's going to be calling you, no notifications, and let's spend this next 10 minutes focused. So with your eyes closed, just take 2 or 3 nice, long, deep, complete breaths. And with each outward breath, just consciously let go of whatever tension you might be holding. Maybe you find in your shoulders or in your face, wherever you find it. Each breath, go a little deeper into that relaxation. Become aware of how the inward breath expands your whole body. So feel that gentle expansion of every part of your body with each inward breath. And you can be aware how this helps to rejuvenate our body as we draw in this nice fresh prana. And then with each outward breath, we consciously go into a deeper relaxation by letting go of any tension that we are holding in the different parts of our body. We're a little more relaxed and focused. We'll begin our mindfulness or silent witness meditation practice. And this begins very simply by being aware of our breath, being aware that we are the witness, the observer of each inward and outward breath. In other words, we step back, and you can even mentally say to yourself, I am aware, I am watching my body breathe. And you'll become aware how it is happening automatically. You're not consciously forcing each inward or outward breath, it's just happening. And you, the self, the person, are peacefully and calmly watching each inward and outward breath. We can also become aware that we are the silent witness, the observer of the stream of thoughts which is ever moving through the mind. So in this practice we actually step back from the stream of thoughts. We're not trying to still the mind, we're not trying to empty the mind, and we're not trying to control the mind in any way. Just let it roam wherever it wants to roam. Good thoughts, bad thoughts, positive thinking, negative thinking, whatever images arise, whatever plans and thoughts, whatever ideas are there, let them be there without interfering in any kind of way. Now what we do is step back from this stream of thoughts, and you can mentally repeat this following meditation. I am the silent witness. I make no effort to think, but thoughts come automatically. I am watching thoughts flow through my mind. I am aloof from them. I am the silent witness of my mind's activities. This experience of mindfulness is just like a person sitting on the bank of a stream, just quietly and peacefully observing the passing stream. And they're simply watching. They're not immersed in the stream, but peacefully, calmly watching the flow of the stream. Now in a moment we will harmonize our breath, and then starting on the third outward breath, we meditate with the transcendental sound of the Gauranga mantra. It's an effortless practice. The breathing is not deep or in any special practice, just the natural breath. On each inward breath, silently be aware of and meditate on the Gauranga mantra. And then on each outward breath, saying the mantra aloud, experiencing the vibration, listening to the sound, and resting the mind. Let the mind effortlessly rest in the sound as you say it. So let us inhale together. Exhaling. Inhaling. Exhaling. Inhaling. One more time. And just keeping your eyes closed for a few more moments as we continue to meditate on the mantra in the mind. Now, when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Namaste to you all. I hope you're feeling a little more relaxed, a little more peaceful and calm after our meditation. And I hope things are okay, going all right in your life. So tonight's topic is called meditation in the temple of your heart. So we want to begin with exploring what is meditation, and then we'll move on to the idea of the temple of our heart and how meditation takes place actually in the heart, not in the mind. Mostly when people think of meditation, what kind of image comes to mind? Usually we think of someone sitting down, perhaps with crossed legs, perhaps they have their eyes closed, they may have their hands in a yoga mudra, something like chin mudra. Like I said, usually, it's serene looking, the eyes are closed, and we think, we consider that to be someone who is in meditation. So when people think of meditation, what kind of comes to mind, generally speaking? Different people have different ideas on what meditation is. Maybe they think of quietening the busy mind, because every single one of us has experienced the reality of how my mind is driving me crazy. So we even sometimes feel we're going crazy because the mind just wants to put forward so many things. And I'm not sure about you, but the tendency of my mind is it always wants to put forward things which are problems. It has a natural default setting that it will always think about things that are troubling, that cause anxiety or fear about the future or regrets about the past, all kinds of things that the mind proposes. As anyone who's kind of come to our classes before would have heard this quote, but we'll repeat it again. It's it's described how the mind can make a hell out of heaven and a heaven out of hell. So therefore one of the reasons people come to meditation, probably the prime reason people come to meditation, is to somehow or other quieten this crazy, busy monkey mind that jumps all over the place. And they may think that, to do that, to achieve that goal of having a quiet mind, that I need to still the mind. I need to quieten the mind. The mind is busy, let me engage in meditation. So basically I will stop the mind. I will control the mind. Or I will empty the mind of thoughts. And because the mind is not so busy, there's not so many thoughts there, then I will gain some peace from this mind which is harassing me. The mind even harasses us at night time when we're trying to get some rest and sleep. It can be in the form of dreams, nightmares and things like that. So therefore emptying the mind, stilling the mind, or even as we just practiced earlier, meditation means mindfulness. So mindfulness means that I understand that I'm not my mind, and I am not the content of my mind. I am not the thoughts which are always flowing through the mind. That is not me. I am the silent witness or the observer of the mind. So therefore mindfulness is tacked with the idea of meditation. Simply by having the ability to step away from whatever feelings or thoughts or desires or problems that arise in the mind, if I can simply step back and be able to have that distance between my mind's content and myself, then this is meditation. Now these are all definite benefits, or the many benefits which derive from a meditation practice, is a quieter mind, a more peaceful mind. The ability to find solutions to the problems as the mind becomes more calm and peaceful. This allows insights, to rise to the surface, and therefore I can gain insights into decisions, through my journey of life. So we want to explore a little deeper than this and understand what is the actual definition of meditation. What is the definition of meditation according to yoga teaching, the sacred yoga text, but not just in yoga, but actually all genuine spiritual paths. We had the word spiritual. Understand that there is a much deeper experience to what meditation is. That it is actually a spiritual endeavor. Meditation, to calm the mind, to focus on the breath. Because, meditation also is inseparable from what is the object or the subject of my meditation. And understanding that meditation means to immerse my consciousness. It has an effect upon my consciousness, not just my breath and not just the mind, but it is actually to immerse oneself in transcendence or in the spiritual dimension. Because what do people normally meditate on? What do we meditate on? We can meditate upon, a parent might meditate upon their children. Maybe the child is away or at school or swimming or surfing or something. And it's naturally that a parent, out of affection, will think about, Johnny or Mary or whoever it is. So therefore, their mind, their focus of their mind, and also we'll touch on this more later, and the focus of their heart or their affection is the person who they love. So it may also be your partner. You're thinking about them, you're immersed in thoughts of them, things that you did together, things that they've said or done. And then we can also go to other areas that people meditate on, like a businessman. What does a business person meditate on? Primarily money, making money. So their consciousness or their mind is immersed in that subject, that their attention is on that object or that subject of money, how to improve their business. They're always thinking about, social media and advertising and promotions, and perhaps they're checking out, their opposition business and how they're doing and what they're doing. So the mind is immersed in that subject or that object, and so on. Maybe someone is into, what do they call it, manifesting their desire, something, is that what they call it? Something like that. It used to be known as the secret. So you manifest, what you want. So from what I understand, part of that is that you have to actually focus and meditate on that which you want. Whether it be a new bike, a new car, a new relationship, more money in the bank. And part of the technique is that you constantly meditate on that subject, that object that you want. And from there it kind of goes into then you see yourself receiving it. You want to just mute? Sorry, I'm just going to have a cough. Sorry about that, but it would have been a loud cough in your ear if I had have done it. So then the person is meditating on that, and they're also meditating upon them receiving that which they have meditated upon, and this is passing as meditation. So is this actual meditation? The answer is no, according to the sacred text, the actual self-realized yoga masters and the authoritative sacred yoga text. This is actually not the goal of meditation. Meditation is a transcendental or a spiritual practice and experience. And because we, ourselves, we are not material, We are not matter. We are not our physical bodies. We are not the ever-changing mind. We are the eternal self, the eternal spiritual being who is temporarily in this body. So here is the actual realization, here is the understanding from these sacred yoga texts and self-realized yoga spiritual masters. That the realization is, I am a life particle in Atma, spirit. I, the Atma, am an effulgent, dazzling, infinitesimal ray of transcendental light emanating from the original cause. Just as an individual ray of sunshine emanates from the sun globe, I am not my physical body, I am not my mind, rather both my body and mind are like garments that I, the Atma, the self, am temporarily wearing. With this understanding, we can also understand that nothing material can satisfy me, because I am not material, I am not this physical body or mind. Then nothing material, no material energy, even if I meditate upon achieving the BMW or the new job, the career, etc., even if through my meditation I achieve these things, this is still not the end goal of meditation, nor will it actually satisfy my heart, which is ultimately the goal of meditation, is to have a satisfied heart. So here I'll read again some more from the Bhagavad Gita that kind of establish what meditation, the idea of spiritual meditation. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, as a lamp in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist, whose mind is controlled, remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendent self. So here is a very clear understanding and description of what meditation is. So part of meditation is controlling the mind. But then when the mind is somewhat under control, what is then the subject of meditation? Because controlling the mind through breath, whether it be through pranayama or different exercises, then once the mind is controlled a little, it is then placed in meditation. So it is not controlling the mind which is the goal of meditation, but once the mind and the senses are somewhat under control, from that point the person is then able to enter into meditation. So here Krishna is explaining that once the mind is controlled, then such a transcendentalist always remains steady in their meditation on the transcendent self. On the transcendent self. He then goes on to say, the stage of perfection is called trance or samadhi, when one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. So this again illustrates the idea that even meditating on some material energy, whether it be in the form of, like I said, a car or a bank balance or whatever it might be, if that's the form of our meditation, is on that, then this is not the goal of yoga, as Krishna is explaining there. He said this is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness and enjoys himself through transcendental energies, through transcendental senses. So here, this is the first point that we wanted to bring up, to establish, is this reality that meditation is a transcendental experience. So there was just another... So what am I meditating on once I've controlled my mind? Meditating upon the transcendent self. So I am an eternal, spiritual, non-material, transcendental self. I am of the spiritual nature. I am not of material energy. So I am a transcendental self, transcendent self. So to be established in that realization, aham brahmasmi, I am spirit, this is the beginning of actual meditation. And through meditation, yogic process, a person can be established in that platform of realization, of self-realization, where I actually experience directly that I am not this body or mind. So therefore it is meditation upon the transcendent self, or my real, true self, my true existence, my true essence as being spiritual. But then also, Krishna goes on to explain, a person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant, nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, unbewildered, and who knows the science of the Supreme, is to be understood as already situated in transcendence. Such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure or external objects, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme. So here we get the next part of the journey. So it doesn't stop at realization of aham brahmasmi, I am spirit, I am transcendent, I am a transcendent self. But actually now we understand what or who is the object of my meditation. So there, for he concentrates upon the Supreme. So what I wanted to move on to now is actually something really, really nice. Just need to, actually maybe I'll cover this first. So not only are we not the physical body, not the mind, we are Atma or self, we are part and parcel of the Supreme Atma. And as we read before, in the same way as the light rays emanate from the sun globe, so we are spiritually effulgent parts and parcels of the original cause. So here in the Upanishads it is said, as innumerable sparks emanate from a fire, so all the individual spirit souls, or atmas, with their particular characteristics, emanate from the original cause, or the Supreme Soul. The Atma is part and parcel of the original cause, just as a shining ray, molecule, particle of sunshine is part and parcel of the sun itself. So we are part of the Supreme Soul. So what I wanted to do at this point is just to give a really brief overview of what is the nature of the Supreme. What in the yoga teaching, what are the realizations, the stages of realization, and the nature of that absolute whole, or the original cause, the cause of all causes, or the Supreme. So this is a very, very brief introduction to the idea. So in Vedic teaching, there is an absolute whole, or an absolute truth, or supreme being, or original cause, from which everything and everyone emanates. And the yoga teaching describe that there are three aspects to this original cause, the source of everything. So I just wanted to go through, as I said briefly, an introduction to these three transcendental or spiritual aspects of the original cause, or the original source of everything. So the first we want to look at is Brahman, or the Brahma Jyoti. The Brahman or Brahma Jyoti is the transcendental effulgence which emanates from the original cause and is likened to an infinite ocean of light. So this Brahman realization, this first aspect of realization of the Supreme, is a transcendental, infinite ocean of spiritual light. This effulgence is the impersonal aspect of the original cause. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes, he tells us, I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and which is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. So this energy, this light, this spiritual effulgence is immortal and imperishable, eternal. So this is one aspect of the Absolute. The second aspect we want to look at now is Paramatma realization, or the second aspect of the Absolute, known as Paramatma, or the Super Soul, the Lord who is within the heart. So the Paramatma is a partial manifestation of the original cause. Paramatma exists in the heart of all living beings. So we'll speak a little bit more about this as we go along. So within our heart there is actually a transcendental expansion of the original cause, or the Supreme Soul. So again in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "The Supreme Soul is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wandering of all living entities who are situated as on a machine made of material energy." So we, the Atma, are in this machine of the material body, the material energy. But within the heart of all living entities is actually an expansion of the Supreme. And maybe we'll talk about this again maybe a little bit further, but notice what Krishna is saying here in the Bhagavad Gita is not that Krishna, that he is in the hearts of all Indians or Americans or Australians or Filipinos. He says all living entities, and not even just human, let alone, Krishna, he's in the hearts of Hindus or Indians. No. In the heart of all living beings, no matter what species of life the Atma, the Self, may be in, including animal, plant, etc., human, and humans of all cultures and countries, there is an expansion of the Supreme within the heart of all living beings, who is known as the Paramatma. Atma meaning true self, the real self. Paramatma, Param means the Supreme Self. So there is me, the Jiva-atma, the small spark of the Absolute, and then there is the Paramatma, or the Supreme, who is unlimited. So the third aspect is realization, or the third aspect of the Absolute is known as Bhagavan realization, or realization of the personality of the original cause. Bhagavan is the cause of all causes. Bhagavan is the original person. The word Purusha, sometimes in yoga you hear terms like Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha means person, supreme person in this aspect, the original person. So Bhagavan is the cause of all causes, is the original person who has an eternal, transcendental form. The essence of Bhagavan is spiritual love. Bhagavan, the Supreme Soul, enjoys loving relationships with the countless loving servants. Ultimately, everything and everyone, directly or indirectly, emanates from Bhagavan. Every living being is a spark and eternal loving relationship with Bhagavan, the Supreme Person. So these are the three aspects of the Absolute. The all-pervading energy or light of the original cause, the impersonal aspect of God, so to speak, the partial and localized manifestation of the Absolute Person, the Absolute Whole, who is within the hearts of all living beings, and then the original cause of all causes, Bhagavan, or Purushottam, the original transcendental, eternal, non-material personality of the original Absolute Whole. And we are also persons, individuals. And just as we are individuals, there is a supreme individual person. So that is something important to understand as we move on in this connection to meditation in the temple of the heart. So perhaps you're already getting an inclination of what is the object, the transcendent self, that is the object, or who is the object of our meditation within the heart. So I also wanted to read a little bit more in this connection and speak a little bit more about this. In the Vedas, like the Mundaka Upanishad or Svetashvatara Upanishad, they compare the soul and the super soul as being like two friendly birds sitting on the same tree. So in this analogy, the tree is the body. So within this body, there are two living beings. It's the same as the analogy on the tree, on the branch of the tree, there are two birds, two friends sitting together. So one of the birds, the individual atomic Atma, the Jiva-atma, is eating the fruit of the tree. Busily engaged in finding and seeking out the fruit and enjoying the fruit of the tree. So this is analogous to us, the Atma, in our materially conditioned state. We are trying to enjoy the fruits of the tree, meaning our body, meaning our senses. So we're traveling through life trying to enjoy the sense of smelling, of hearing, of seeing, of touching, of tasting. So these are like the fruits, enjoying the objects of the senses. This is like the bird who is trying to enjoy the fruit which is hanging in the tree. So if you're following me up to this point, so we, the Jiva soul, are like one of the birds who is actually sitting there on the tree but busily enjoying the fruit of the tree, meaning the body, the senses, and the sense objects. The second bird, the other bird, the Paramatma, or expansion of the Supreme, is simply there watching as our eternal friend. So although the birds are of the same quality, both birds are spiritual, yet the Jiva-atma is captivated by the fruits of the material tree, while the other bird, the Paramatma, is simply witnessing the activities of his friend. This witnessing bird is the Supreme Soul, is Krishna himself. And the bird who is eating the fruits is me, is you, the individual Jiva-atma. So again, this is what I'm going to read now as a quote from the Upanishads, and it says, although the two birds are in the same tree, the eating bird is fully engrossed with anxiety and moroseness as the enjoyer of the fruits of the tree. But if in some way or other he turns his face to his friend, who is the Lord and who knows his glories, at once the suffering bird becomes free from all anxieties. So this is now we're moving into who is the object of our meditation within the temple of our heart. So we are the Jiva-atma. Now, I won't go too much in depth into this because we've covered it in previous talks, and I'm sure you are personally aware of it. Although we are trying to enjoy ourselves in life, we are trying to find happiness, fulfillment, joy, love, all these common goals that each person is looking for, we still experience, although we may attain some of the objects of our enjoyment, and even so-called love, in the beginning there is a certain, this is described actually again by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, that material energy, in the beginning, the enjoyment is like nectar. So, we get the object of our desire, and in the beginning, having attained it, there is a certain nectar or sweetness to the experience. But then Krishna goes on to say, and we have all had direct experience of this, that what in the beginning, some material energy, is sweet, in the end becomes bitter. That can be in so-called love affairs, it can be in different experiences that we have all had. The sweetness is there for a while, but then like chewing gum, once we've chewed it, then the sweetness is chewed out of it, and then it's no longer enjoyable, and we have to spit it out and get another chewing gum to chew to get some fresh sweetness. But then Krishna also goes on to say that what spiritually, what in the beginning may appear to be sour or bitter, in the end is full of nectar. So this is analogous to our spiritual journey. Maybe because we're so used to traveling through life materially or externally focused, that when we try to engage in spiritual cultivation, in the beginning it may appear to be an effort, not appear to be, it is an effort. And we kind of end up doing it because we know it's good for us, it makes sense, so many variety of different reasons. We're looking for a solution to the problems of life. But in the beginning stage of our spiritual cultivation, it may appear and be experienced as being difficult, boring, all kinds of things. But those transcendentalists, and Krishna himself, describe that if one continues, if one perseveres, then that which appears to be bitter is full of nectar. And this actually could be a whole talk that we can give on why how that is the case. But to establish that reality, the nectar, the satisfaction that each of us is looking for, is actually to be found in our meditation upon the Supreme Absolute Truth. And we want to move into that a little bit more. There's some really nice things. So meditation, so maybe we'll touch on this a little more. The different reasons why people take up meditation is a feeling of dissatisfaction. It's a rare person who takes up the practice of meditation for spiritual cultivation. But this is the ultimate purpose. So there can be many, many different reasons that move us to look to meditation. And some of the reasons can be things such as, a relationship which goes sour and becomes very painful, or maybe even relationships that aren't sour but just become boring, and I feel a dissatisfaction just generally in life with relationships, jobs, all kinds of things. But one of the things that we're all looking for is relationships. If we don't have someone to love and someone to love us back, this is called loneliness. And loneliness is the greatest pain or the greatest suffering that a person can experience. I've had various things such as broken bones and hands and fingers and nose and different kind of diseases and things like that. And there is definitely pain or suffering connected to those things. But that greatest pain, which far eclipses any kind of physical pain, is pain experienced in the heart of loneliness, of feeling no one loves me or cares for me, of being rejected by someone, or just traveling through life. Because we are the Atma, we cannot die. We are living, but we can feel dead, even though we are eternal and ever existing. If we do not have someone to love, then we experience no motivation, no purpose, no happiness. So actual meditation, spiritual meditation upon the transcendent self, cures us of this loneliness, because we actually find that eternal friend who loves me unconditionally and who I can love perfectly, fully satisfyingly, if that's a word, when the object of my meditation is the supreme friend, then my heart's longing is fully satisfied. And I taste that nectar of yoga. Yoga actually means relationship. We hear yoga sometimes described as being union or connection, and all this is true. These are genuine, real. But union with what or who? Unity, harmony with what or who? So yoga can more completely be translated with the English word relationship. And that's what we're all looking for. relationships. So again, turning to the self-realized yoga masters and the sacred yoga text, that love you are looking for is already there within your heart. Now here, controversially, I want to say I'm not talking of self-love. This is not the so-called love which will satisfy you or me. And even if you delve deep into it, what does it mean, self-love? Just love yourself. So maybe that can also, we'll put that aside. That can be a topic for another discussion, perhaps. Love is a reciprocal experience. Love does not stand alone. The nature of love, it is reciprocal. Therefore, you cannot love yourself. It is a reciprocation between at least two individuals. That's the meaning of love. So when we're speaking of that love that is within us, means that my nature is love. That is the nature of me, the Atma. And as we discussed earlier, the nature of the original cause of the Supreme Soul of Bhagavan is perfect, transcendental love. That is the essence of Bhagavan, or the Supreme Absolute Personality of the Absolute Truth, or the Absolute Whole. So now we move further down this path. Love, that love which is within us, understanding within this body, within the heart, because you, the Atma, me, we are actually residing within the heart. That is where you are sitting, within the heart, the region of the heart within this body. And remembering that example of the two birds in the one tree, so within this body, within the region of the heart, in my body, in your body, there are two Atmas. Not just one, not just you. There are two Atmas, as there are two birds on that tree. One is you, the Jiva-atma, the small spark of the Supreme, and the Paramatma, or the expansion of the Supreme Friend, of the Supreme Person, who is sitting there beside me within my heart. Two souls, the Jiva soul and the Supreme Soul, are there together. We are trying to enjoy the fruits of the body, and our eternal friend is sitting there next to us, simply waiting for us to again turn our heads, turn our vision, to turn our focus, to turn our meditation upon that Supreme Friend who is sitting there within our hearts, right next to us. So there's also something nice I wanted to read as well in this connection from the Bhagavad Purana. This is part of the yogic text. It's a little bit long, so it's a large paragraph. So I'll try to read it so that you can hear and consider, just listen to this as I read it from the Bhagavad Purana. So here the Super Soul, here the Supreme Soul, the Supreme Lord within our hearts, is speaking and saying, I am your eternal friend. You may remember that many times in the past you have consulted me. My dear friend, even though you cannot immediately recognize me, can't you remember that in the past you had a very intimate friend? Unfortunately, you gave up my company and accepted the position of an enjoyer in this material world. My dear gentle friend, both you and I are exactly like two swans. We live together in the same heart. Although we have been living together for many thousands of years, we are still far away from our original home. My dear friend, you are now my very same friend. Since you left me, you have become more and more materialistic. And not seeing me, you have been traveling in different forms throughout this material world. My dear friend, when you enter into such a body, along with material desires, you become overly absorbed in sense enjoyment. Because of this, you have forgotten your spiritual life, due to your material conceptions. Sometimes you think yourself a man, sometimes a woman. Actually, both of us, you and I, are pure spiritual identities. So here we have exactly what the topic of tonight is. And we bring in the idea of the temple. What is a temple? You know, in every spiritual tradition, there is some form of temple, synagogue, mosque, church, etc. And what are these places? These places are meant to be a place of sanctuary. They are meant to be a place where we can actually sit quietly and peacefully meditate upon and be in communion with the Supreme. Is this not the purpose of temples, synagogues, mosques, churches? That's their intent. We can actually be in the presence of the Lord. So here we're using the example of a temple. Now in the Vedic tradition, in the Vedic culture, in India, there are innumerable temples. And these temples are not just an empty hall. When you go into a temple, you'll find that there is the focus is a deity form of some aspect of the Supreme Soul. So the deity, like for instance, you can go into a temple of Krishna, a Krishna temple, and there you will see, just like here, to my left, to your right, you see there is a form of Krishna. So a temple in the Vedic culture, there is a form of the Supreme Soul, of the Supreme Lord. We're not speaking here of temple, of idol worship. This is a whole nother topic. The form that the Supreme Soul accepts so that we, the materially conditioned souls, who do not yet have spiritual vision of the Lord who is within our heart, we can actually see and meditate upon, look upon the beauty of the Supreme in the form of the Murti. It's called Murti or Acha Vigraha, the transcendental form, the form in which the Supreme Soul very kindly, out of love, accepts so that we can actually come to offer worship and meditate upon and have vision of the transcendental form and nature of the Supreme Soul. So in that temple, there is worship or puja which happens throughout the day and night. And where various items, food items are offered to the deity, a form of the Lord. There are things like incense and lamps and flowers and leis, garlands of flowers, and beautiful songs are sung in praise and glorification and for the pleasure of the deity, of the form of the Lord who is there in the temple. So in that way a person can go there and actually have meditation upon, remember and engage in actually worshipping and serving the Supreme Lord of their heart in the form of the temple. So this is one way that we can actually cultivate our relationship with the Lord of our heart in the form of deity worship. So very kindly, that same Supreme Lord is there within my heart, as close as my heart. So meditation means also that my temple, in the temple of my heart, I should be paying the same attention to that Lord who is within my heart, the Paramatma, the expansion of the Supreme, who is sitting there within the temple of my heart. In the same way as in the temple, there is appreciation, worship, and attention given to the deity form of the Lord in the temple. So when you go into a temple where the deity is very nicely taken care of, you find there are fresh flowers, the deity is dressed in beautiful fresh clothes, there are all kinds of worship ceremonies taking place, everybody is paying attention and meditating upon and singing the glories of the Supreme. So this is also possible within the temple of our heart, where we are actually paying attention to, worshipping and meditating upon the transcendental form of the Supreme who is actually there within each of our hearts. But unfortunately, as we were just reading there from the Bhagavad Purana, where the Supreme Soul is saying, unfortunately you have forgotten me and you are traveling through this world. Don't you remember me? Don't you have a vague recollection that in the past you had a very dear friend and throughout your life you're actually searching out again for that relationship, and there is an innate feeling, a knowing that there is my soulmate? You know how people say, I'm looking for my soulmate? This is a direct manifestation of the reality of what we just read from the Bhagavad Purana. Gee, I just feel there's someone who is perfect for me. Yes, there is, for every single one of us. And that perfect soulmate is that expansion of the Supreme who is within my heart. And that is why I feel there is a soulmate, and that is why I'm constantly looking, and invariably I am disappointed in the people who I think in the beginning may be my soulmate. It's because there is a soulmate, and that is the Supreme Soul. And to re-establish or uncover that relationship is meditation. So to come back to this idea of the temple. So the deity in the temple is meant to be taken care of and given attention. Similarly, and if it's not, because there are some, like in Cambodia, there's this really famous temple that many tourists go to visit. This was many hundreds or thousands of years ago, was a great temple that was where the deities were worshipped in there. But through time, it was neglected. So the temple was kind of overgrown with, kind of vines and trees grew up in the middle of it. And the deity, which was originally being worshipped there in the temple, became neglected, covered by dirt and dust and just neglected. So similarly, our relationship with the Supreme, who is within our heart, through our journey through life, as was described there, pursuing our material desires, we've forgotten that. And like the bird on the tree, we have turned our face away from that friend who is sitting right next to me, and we're engaging in all of these other activities. I hope that all kind of connects up and makes sense. So the idea of spiritual cultivation is to again turn to this dearmost friend who is sitting there next to me within the temple of my heart. And again, starting to pay attention, because I've neglected to meditate, to worship, to cultivate that loving relationship with the Lord of my heart. Let me again turn to that deity of my heart, in the temple of my heart, and again worship that Supreme Friend and meditate upon that Supreme Friend. So I hope that all connects up and makes sense to what the topic is tonight. So exactly how to do that? Well, of course, this is part of an ongoing spiritual journey, and this is all part of the vast wisdom and practice which is there in the Vedic sacred text. But let me give you a clue, and I think some of you might already know. There is no difference between the holy name of the Supreme Soul, the original cause, and the Supreme Soul. So when we are actually meditating upon the transcendently beautiful name of the Supreme Soul, we are directly meditating upon and giving attention to and worshipping the Supreme Soul in the form of transcendental sound. So this is how we re-establish that relationship, that yoga with the Supreme Soul, is by meditation upon, by embracing the holy names in the depth of my very being. So in yoga teaching, my spiritual teacher has taught me this, that initially when we hear the transcendental sound where someone is saying the name Govinda, Gauranga, Gopala, Krishna, Rama, we hear those transcendental names through our ears. It doesn't just stay in the eardrum. We actually take it and we focus the mind on that transcendental sound, which means focusing the mind on the Supreme, because there is no difference between the name of the Supreme and the Supreme. The Supreme is fully and completely, all the attributes, all the qualities, and all the love that is there, that is part of the Supreme Soul, is completely in that transcendental sound. So now the focus of our mind in meditation is the sound, is the mantra, the sound, the name of the Supreme. So this is now transcendental meditation, so to speak. But also it does not stop there. We then invite the Supreme in the form of His holy name into our heart, and we embrace the form of the Supreme in transcendental sound in the form of His holy name. We actually embrace that holy name within our heart, and therefore we are worshipping, we are meditating in the temple of our heart as we actually embrace that holy name, that transcendental name of the Supreme within the core of our very being. So this is how we can actually meditate in the temple of our heart. Hearing the transcendental name, meditating, the mind is focused on the sound, listening to the sound, and then actually inviting that sound. So when we say the heart, we're not just talking about the beating heart that keeps the blood circulating, because that's one part of the heart. Then of course there is the heart, meaning our feelings and emotions. This could be described as another aspect or another heart, so to speak. When we give our heart to someone, it isn't like we cut open our chest and give them that muscle. You understand what I mean when we say, we give our heart to somebody. And then, if you like, you can say there is the spiritual heart. There is me, the Jiva-atma, the soul, the eternal part and parcel of the Supreme Atma. So in that innermost sanctum of my temple of my heart, I actually hold and embrace the Supreme, the name of the Supreme. In such a meditation, we will actually find our soulmate. We will be free from loneliness. We'll be free from yearning and longing, because we'll have found what who we are looking for. Thank you very much. That's pretty much the ideas that I can fit in for now. And again, as we say every week, if someone has any questions in connection with this, please send it to us. And I can definitely either get back to you personally, or we can have it as a discussion for another Thoughtful Thursday. Thank you so much. Please consider these ideas. I hope they were a little interesting and helpful in your journey. So now we're going to have some Kirtan. Remember how to do this. The ears, the mind, the heart. Okay, so now we have Madhulila Dasi is going to lead us in some Kirtan, and let's make this a Kirtan, a meditation in the temple of our heart. Well, unmuted, ready to go. Mohana Murari. Adana 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 Mohana Murari. There we are. Meditation in the temple of the heart. So please see if you can put a little time, find some time to begin that meditation in the temple of your heart. One way you can do it is what we're doing now in Kirtan. Now you'll find on our YouTube channel as well as on asmy.tv site, there are a lot of kirtans, and you can make a playlist, you can listen to them, you can sing along, or just have them there in the background, or spend some time where you actually attentively listen and sing or chant in kirtan with these online clips that we have. You can also learn to meditate on the holy names through a practice called japa meditation with japa mala or beads. So I think there's also classes on our asmy.tv where you can actually learn how to do that. I'm not sure if it was taught in the class that's on that site now, but if you don't have beads, you can use a necklace. Go and get some beads somewhere. It doesn't have to be of a specific number or type or anything like that. They'll teach in that class, they'll teach you how to practice japa meditation. You can even do it on your fingers, where you're touching and counting the mantras on your fingers. So if you don't know how to do it yet, check out that meditation video class that's on asmy.tv. And then you can learn how to daily have that meditation in the temple of your heart. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Good night, and remember, Friday night we have our kirtan. It's in the temple of this room, but it also is in the temple of our heart and in the temple of your heart. So Friday at 6:30 Queensland time, Australia time, and Sunday, of course, 5 o'clock. You can tune in. Thank you so much. Namaste, and hope to catch up again soon. So maybe we can take out a chant while Jiva wraps it up for us. So whenever you're ready, Jiva, but we'll just chant while you're doing that.